Previously on Dear Emily.
Girls out there want to kiss me. Because if you call me kissing actor, then you're setting me up. So take that word, kissing actor, out. You can use
the
lover
romantic.
boy. Yeah, you can use lover
actor.
boy. Yeah,
Lover
you can use
boy.
lover boy.
Cause my love came crashing down. I don't know if it ever will get back up again. I need someone to talk to. I'll say what I'm going through. Tired of complications.
Hey, it's your girl Emily, and welcome to Dear Emily. Today's episode, we have a very special guest with us. We're going to be talking about relationship and mental health, and I'm so privileged to have Mistress Pretty Guzeh-Brown in the building today. She is a licensed therapist who will be talking to us about mental health and how it affects relationship. So it's such an honor for me to welcome my friend and the licensed therapist, Mistress Brown.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Miss Emilymai. So like she said, my name is Miss Pretty Guzeh-Brown. I'm a licensed graduate social worker. I'm a therapist. I'm a founder of Living in Faith and True nonprofit organization. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a friend as well as a sister. So it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
It's good to have you, Mistress Brown, and you look fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so today's topic, as you know, we're going to be talking about relationship and mental health, and that how that correlates and how it affects how relationship can affect our mental health. Okay, so we're going to be talking to the audience today, and you're going to educate us because that's your line of expertise.
Thank you. I feel so honored to share. I'm still learning too. I'm still learning, but I've learned a lot, and I'm open to sharing what I've learned.
Yes, and we're excited to have you on once more. Okay, so let's just get into it. We're talking about relationship and mental health and how how mental health can impact relationship. Okay, so what is your definition of mental health before we really get into the relationship aspect?
How I would define mental health would be having like a stability, making sure that you are grounded, making sure that your mind, body is in that relationship, because you can be in a relationship but mentally your mind can be somewhere else. So your mental health is where your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit is at the same place at the same time. So that's how I would define like mental health.
Okay, so mental health in line with relationship, mind, body, soul, spirit, everything has to be in alignment, pretty much, is what you're saying. Okay, so as a therapist, right, and as a licensed graduate social worker, I've been in that field as well, just not with the with the license yet, but a background. What would you say is the biggest factor in terms of relationship that hinders mental health?
If you are not in a healthy relationship, it can really damage your mental health. So in order for you to be in a healthy relationship, your mental health has to be a priority. So you have to have open communication. That's one way to start having a healthy relationship. You got to have trust. You got to be honest. Because if you can be honest with yourself, you cannot be honest with that person you're going to be in a relationship with. And that all boils down to your mental health. Because some people live in denial. Some people are walking around living in denial, living in fear. They are not taking care of themselves. They're not prioritizing their mental health. Boom, they jump into relationships. And guess what happens? Reality comes and slap you in the face. And in that relationship is what is toxic, it's hurt, it's damaged before you even start.
Yeah. So one word that I got from all the good stuff you literally just said is toxic, right? So if your relationship, anything that is unhealthy, no matter the gravity of it, it becomes toxic. And when you are in a toxic relationship, it affects your mental health. And like you said earlier on, mental health has a lot to, based off your definition, has a lot to do with body, soul, spirit alignment, right? So if you're in a toxic relationship and you're being mentally abused or emotionally abused, spiritually abused, which is something that we don't talk about a lot, it can affect your mental health.
Also financially abused.
Also financial abuse. A lot of people are being financially abused, so that can affect your mental health. So Pretty, have you ever been in a situation or in a relationship, rather, let's say, where your mental health was affected, your mind, body, soul was not in alignment with that relationship?
Definitely. With my marriage, with my friendship, with my ladies in my circle, definitely when my mind, body, soul, spirit is not in alignment with one another, yes, it caused ruffle in my relationship with them. It caused problem in my marriage, because how can I be a wife if my mental health is not in control? If I'm like angry, I'm on level 10, I'm yelling, I have anxiety, definitely I cannot be a wife to somebody. I cannot be peace to my husband. Definitely gonna be war when he comes home. And I cannot be a friend or a sister. We're always gonna be butting heads together. So that's why, whether you're in a relationship, married, single, dating, or even in friends, prioritize your mental health so it doesn't damage relationship you are building. Because what you think, that's how you're gonna feel and that's how you're gonna act. So if your mental is all put together, like I would say put together, and making sure like, okay, my mind is right, my spirit is right, so definitely my energy is gonna be right. So you gravitate good positive energy, so when you come in a room, people in that room can understand our positive spirit. So yes, I have been in a relationship where my mindset has not been right. I have been in a situation where I'm like, no, I'm not talking to nobody because mentally I'm not okay right now. So definitely. And I'm still going through it, to be honest. Some days I don't want to talk to my husband. Some days I don't want to talk to my friends. Some days I don't want to talk to my kids because I got to prioritize my mental health.
You know, I wonder how your husband feel about that. Like you not wanting to talk to him some days.
This is 15 years, guys. So I think he should be used to that. But he knows now the fact that I talk about it a lot in the house to prioritize our mental health. So even if he has having a moment, and I'm like, do you need a break? Do you want to prioritize your mental health? Do you want to pray? Go running on the soccer field, you need to do so, because in order for us to make this relationship work, in order for us to have a really healthy relationship, we got to prioritize our mental health.
Mm-hmm. I like that you're using the word prioritize a lot. So now the next question is, what are some ways or what are some things you have in place that makes you to prioritize your mental health? What are some things that you do?
So I started doing like my me time. I have section where I go work out. I work out with Lou Fitness. So that's my main time. That's me prioritizing my mental health on the physical part. I pray with the ladies on Living in Faith and True nonprofit organization. We pray Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's me working on my spiritual part of my mental health. And then also too, I like to do yoga. I started trying to do yoga. I'm not good at it yet. I'm still working on it, but I know I'll get there. But those are some things. And I started doing some self-care where I go, I do my nails, I get some facial done, do my feet. That's a way of prioritizing, like just putting me first, because most of the time I see like I put other people first. I prioritize my husband, my kids, my work, my job, and I saw that it was really messing with my mental health and it was causing problem in all those other relationships I have. So I had to go back and use that word prioritize and prioritize pretty.
Prioritizing pretty.
Yes.
And how has that been going?
It's been going good. See, I'm glowing. I know, I've been glowing. It's been going well. Can't lie, it's been going well. And I'm looking forward to this. And I also want to openly and publicly say thank you to you, because you have been a big part on this journey, on my healing journey, and having you as a coach, coaching me through my situation, because I know many sections, yes, she's a coach, many sections I show up there crying like I'm a mess. And I remember you walking me through this part, like this healing journey is not for anybody. It's not for your husband, not for your children, not for your friends. It's for you. So that has been a great help. So I want to publicly say behind this smile is Coach Emili. So I appreciate it.
Now you're going to make me cry, and I can't be doing that, okay? Because this makeup is going to come off and we're not going to, okay.
We'll cry after. Tune in after.
We'll cry after. Thank you. Thank you, Pretty. And the truth is, at the end of the day, you took hold of your healing and you knew that you needed it. So you did all the work, and I was just there to walk with you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I was able to do that.
Thank you.
With you. So in light of everything you just said, we've talked about prioritizing your mental health, because if you don't prioritize your mental health, it can affect your relationship or every aspect of your life. Okay, your profession, and you as a social worker, you've been in the field for a while, and you know that sometimes if you're not mentally right, and then you have clients who need something, because in the field they're very needy people.
Yeah.
Who need something, you can have a breakdown.
Yeah.
If you're not really careful. Has there been a time where your mental health affected the way that you work in the field as a therapist?
Definitely. As you know, I work with children. So I remember having a section with an 8-year-old little girl. When I work at Washburn Center for Children, and she was just telling me all of this, like, Miss Brown, you don't get it. I'm just so hurt. Nobody loved me. I'm not beautiful. I attach myself to broken people. And I remember like holding back tears, because I was upon a time was an 8-year-old girl who got separated from her mom. And I felt like there was no love in this world. So I have had that show up a lot of time in section where it's like I'm holding back tears because I'm seeing myself in these young kids who comes to section. And it's like, how can I come to a section if my mental health as a therapist is not right, and I have to be poured into somebody's bucket to say, okay, I'm here for you, I'm here to guide you, I'm here to give you a shoulder to cry, but then having to go in the bathroom and cry myself. So that's why when I see that it was showing up in section, I had to prioritize my mental health and find a life coach. And that's what I contacted you. So it all boils back down to you have to take care of yourself. You know, you have to take care of yourself. You have to prioritize yourself, prioritize your mental health. If not, it's going to show up when you go to work. It's going to show up when you come home to your children. It's going to show up even when you're in the community, like just your energy. People can feed off that. So to answer your question, yes, it has show up at church. It has show up with this conversation with my kids, because I have a 9-year-old, but it show up in a couple of conversations. It show up in therapy section at work. And it shows in my relationship, in my marriage as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. And I want to give a shout out to every professional that will be watching this, that's in the social service field, especially therapists, psychologists, social workers. Thank you for the work you do, because it takes a lot. It takes a toll on you. And one of the things that we've talked about, or we talk about in school a lot as social workers, is to get to a place where you separate your job from your personal work.
Yeah.
But most of the time, how do you go about doing that if pretty much you're dealing with humans and you're dealing with their hearts? So like the story you just shared, it's nearly impossible to go home and not have to think about it. With all the other stuff you have to deal with, being a mom, being a wife, you know, putting all those hats on, and then having the stories that you hear at your job with children, you working in crisis, you know, all of that, hearing all those stories is hard for you not to take your job home. So to all the social workers, all the therapists, psychologists, psychotherapists, all of everyone that's watching, just want to say thank you. And Pretty, thank you for being one of those that you literally put yourself on hold, sometimes 8 hours, 12 hours in the day, to make sure that you cater to other people's like mental health. And that's important. That speaks a lot about you as a person and a lot about the profession that you're in. So I want to publicly say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. But one thing too, they don't tell you when you're in school, book knowledge is different from real life knowledge. I mean, you can go to a section where you're DSM-5, ready to use your theory, you know, like CBT, DBT, ready to go. But it's like you see a kiddo that's 5 years old and drop the F-bomb and say, well, I've been in 5 different foster homes. What you gonna do, Miss Brown? You think your CBT skills gonna help me? And it's like, oh, okay, welcome to reality. This is not Oxford University walls where they give you the book. This is real life. So now you gotta be a human and not be looking in books. So sometimes it is hard. And then now working as a crisis worker, it's even harder, you know, getting a phone call and somebody telling you they're going to end their life because of their mental health. Like, they are so depressed, they are so sad, they don't feel loved, they're so hurt. And it's like, now you can say, okay, I can't take this stuff home. No, as a mother, I have to take it home and be grateful to God that my kid doesn't sit across from the table in a conference room and tell me, Mom, I want to end my life. I want to slice my throat open because I don't feel love. I don't feel no love in this home. I don't feel no love at school. So it's not easy. So it boils back to our topic tonight about prioritizing your mental health, investing in your mental health. As parents, let's make time to prioritize our children's mental health as well as ourselves, because when we prioritize our mental health as parents, we have something to give to our kids. So our kids are not hurting inside. So ourselves are not hurting inside. We can heal, and we can heal our kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I like how you're talking to the audience, and I know people are listening and taking notes and all of that. Thank you, Pretty, like I said, for the work that you do and everybody else who's in the social service field. So we're going to take a little break.
Okay.
And then as we'll take this break, and when we get back, we'll talk more about the aspect of why we don't talk about mental health in the communities that we're a part of, okay, and how that can even affect relationship. So everyone, you're listening to the wonderful, the amazing Mistress Pretty Guzeh-Brown, who is with us, a licensed graduate social worker and also a therapist. And it's just so good to have her here. We will be right back. But before we leave, I want you all to send us stars. Send Dear Emily Show stars if you're learning a lot from this episode. Also, there'll be a number posted on the screen that you can also send us Cash App. Every dollar counts, and it goes a long way. Once again, this is Dear Emily. We're going to take a little break. Our topic is relationship and mental health. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Dear Emily. Today's episode, we're talking about relationship and mental health and how mental health or lack of can affect our relationship. And we have an amazing, dynamic therapist with us who is a licensed graduate social worker as well. We have Mistress Pretty Guzeh-Brown who is with us today. And like I said earlier on, it's such a privilege to be here with someone who is not just a therapist, but she's also a friend. And so Pretty, thank you so much for being on here again as we discuss relationship and mental health.
Thank you for having me. Such an honor. Hey, I made it to the Emilymai TV show. Oh, Dear Emily. I'm so used to calling her Coach Emilymai, but it's an honor to be on this show. It's a blessing too. I don't take it lightly, so it is a great opportunity. It's a lifetime. It go in the book for this one, okay? So thank you.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so Pretty, we left off with talking mainly about how mental health can affect our profession, our marriage, relationship, friendship,
everything,
every aspect of our lives. And you mentioned earlier on, mental health has a lot to do with the alignment of mind, body, soul, spirit, everything. It has to do with our alignment. And now I want us to talk a little bit about, in your line of work, how important it is for our communities to be aware of mental health impact on relationship, on in our profession and everything else. So if you could talk a little bit about that and maybe go into maybe why we haven't really touched up on mental health in the Black, specifically African community.
So let's start with our community, which is the West African community. I don't want to be specific to say Liberia, because Ivorian, Nigerian, Sierra Leone, we are from West Africa. That's not something we talk about. It's like a taboo. You tell your parents, oh, I have anxiety, they are ready to rebuke you with the holy oil. You tell them, say, oh, I'm having nightmares, or maybe I'm hearing voices. Now it's from the devil. So we don't really talk about mental health within our African community because of the stigma that comes with it. You are being shamed, or maybe you are being possessed, or you have the devil with you, basically. So because of the shame and the stigma that comes with it, I see a lot of African parents, mostly Liberian parents, try to like avoid that conversation. You see a child at a really young age who's on the spectrum, and you want to tell this family, let's start early, let's start intervention early, let's start therapy early, and they're ready to like argue with you, deny you, no, my child doesn't have it, I'm gonna pray. Yes, praying is not bad, but as you're doing the praying, start doing the intervention at a young age. So to answer your question, is basically the stigma, the shame that comes with it. That's why people avoid it and try to like suppress it so it's not being brought to light. So then we come to America within our Black community. A lot of African American, what they consider as a Black American, really don't talk about it because of the shame. They say, bro, I'm good. No, you are not good. You are stressed. You have anxiety. You are overwhelmed. You have generational trauma that you haven't dealt with. So this conversation, we need to have it within our Black community, and also to having the clinicians of colors, therapists of colors, also to help this conversation to take place in our community. So at least you can say the person that's sitting across from me is the same color as me, look the same, can also relate to what I'm facing in my community. Not somebody that live in a segregated community want to come and work in an integrated community and tell me you can solve my problem because you come in with your book knowledge. Mm-hmm. So it will help if we can have more clinicians of colors to start this conversation in our community.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you said that I see, in the communities that we are part of, and even in the work that I do as a coach, is we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about the impact it has on family. It has on friendship, it has on marriages and all of that. And just even an example with the pandemic that went on. I mean, suicide rate increased. I mean, I think it was, I don't want to give a specific number, but it was really high. And amongst youth, even in the African community, there were lots of young men and women like taking their lives, and people didn't understand why. With the suicide, like, why would you want to kill yourself? And like you're saying, most of the time you slap you with the holy oil and say the devil is a lie. But we don't get to this place of having a conversation with our children, especially children, how they're affected. I remember one time my brother came to me, and he's 18 now, so he's grown. Okay, in his mind, he's grown. He's still my, but he came to me, and he was saying that he's feeling depressed, and I'm like, what? Like, I could never tell my parents that I was feeling depressed.
You should be glad you got food to eat. What's depressing you?
The world is so like, why would you be depressed? You have everything at your disposal, but sometimes our parents only transfer to us what they know, and mental health was never a class that they took. And as you know, as you being a parent, you never came with a parenting manual.
No,
it was never like, this is how you parent this child and that child. So everything is so new, and our parents are just immersed in this world where it's just like, we don't know what to do. Like, we're learning along the way. As you go to school, you spread your knowledge, make sure that you pass it on to us. And that was the first time, like, when my brother said, I'm feeling depressed, like, this is how he would say it: I'm feeling depressed, bruh. Like, I don't know what to do. And how do we talk about it? And knowing the background that I had, and I knew my parents didn't really have that background, but having the background of a social worker, we navigated through that, and he was able to pinpoint like his emotion as to why he was feeling the way he felt. And I had to get to a place to validate that, as hard as that was, because that wasn't validated with me. But I had to get to a place to validate that, hey, I get it. Like, we all go through season of depression where you feel alone. Like, you just don't understand what's going on with you.
Yeah.
You just don't, you know, like with all the sadness. And this is somebody who's lost like 2 friends. They've been killed by gun violence, you know, and just reckless living and stuff like that. So he gets to that place here and there where he's like, that could have been me. Really hope that parents are open, they're watching and they're listening on how it's important for you to educate your kids about, you might not even have the DSM-5, but to get to a place of asking them how they feel. Like, checking in goes a long way. How are you feeling? How was school? Some people, Mistress Brown, would even tell their parents that they're being bullied at school. And they tell them that, you know, I was bullied myself as a child. Like, you just got to keep life going, or you got to stand up for yourself. But they don't really get to that place of, okay, what's happening at the school that you're being bullied, you know, and what do I need to do, the steps that I need to take. So this is such an important conversation, like you just said, because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it at all. So how do you educate your kids about their mental health? What are some things that you put in place?
Now that I know the terminology of those words, I teach my kids how to use words to express their emotion. Growing up, there was no words such of depression. We never said, oh, I'm depressed, or I'm overwhelmed, or I have anxiety. No. Words I used to use when I was little girl, I say I'm sad, and my mom's like, what you sad about? I should be sad. I'm paying the bills. I'm feeding you. So turn that frown upside down and smile. And then when I stick my mouth up, okay, pretty, I'm going to calm down. So when I slap you, it will rearrange your face. Then we want to know where that sadness is going to go. So the thing I would tell parents, and even myself, I'm still learning, is like, let's try to validate our kids' feelings. Because it's not easy being a child in this country. You know, now looking at it, because I myself, I have kids in this country. Kids go to school, and then being a person of color, you deal with bullying, you deal like feeling sad, fitting in, you know, having nappy hair. All of those things messes with your mental health. So if I'm sending my child to school where I'm already like being harsh on her, if she say, Mom, you know, I didn't sleep good last night, I'm so tired, I say, oh no, you got to go to school. Understand when she go to school, she's going to have a bad day. Or if she tells me yesterday somebody bullied her, or she's having anxiety, or she just overwhelmed with school, and I force her to go to school, I'm selling my child for failure. So, sorry, I know your school is watching, but sometimes my kids take a mental health break home. If you were overwhelmed, if we were up all night till 2 a.m. studying, the next day my child is not going to school. Because I want to set her up for success, not to be a failure. Because if you go into school, your heart rate is beating fast, you're getting bullied, have anxiety, or the pressure is too much to do well in school, that child is not going to learn. So a thing I tell parents and I tell young kids who will watch this show, advocate for yourself. If you're having a really hard time in class, tell your teacher, say, listen, I cannot focus. My head hurts, my body hurts, my heart is racing fast. Even if you don't know the word to say, okay, panic attack or having anxiety, just try to express those symptoms that you are feeling. And hopefully those teachers or professors will give you like a mental break where you can go for a walk in the hallway, wash your face with cold water, or get a stress ball, or use some type of widgets to help you. So when you come back in class, you can continue that, educational section. But whatever needs to be done, do it. And I really want to be an advocate for children who are in school, who have mental health, but don't know how to express it. And because we don't talk about it in our Black community, we're ashamed. You know, I had a kid, I remember when I was doing my master's program, I was doing an internship at River Tree Learning Center. It's a EBD school, emotional and behavior school. Yeah. And I had a student, like I remember every 5th period, he would cause trouble so they can kick him out. And I'm like, something ain't adding up, right? This is math class. What's up, bro? Let's speak your code. Do you don't know math? Like, be honest, because that would be the only class he will literally like give the teacher the middle finger or like do something so they can kick him out of class. Then he doesn't have to feel dumb. That's his word, dumb. So he's in the hallway. But after talking to him and just calling him out on his stuff, like, it's nothing wrong if you don't understand math. Because everybody has a different way of learning. Some kids learn by seeing it, practicing it, working on it. So as parents, one thing I ask my children, how do you learn? Do you learn by seeing it, practicing it, or just listening to it? Because that's another way too of checking in. When you pick your kids up from school, from the bus stop, check in with them. How was your day? What happened at school? Create that safe environment for your children to be able to open up to you, as well as in your own relationship as couple. For me, I'm married. Ask your husband, ask your wife, how was your day? So they can know that I have somebody who cares for my mental health, that I can unload, and maybe you can load something in me, and then I can go and be my best self in my career, my best self in my relationship with my kids, and I can be my best self for you as your partner. So all boils down to prioritizing your mental health.
I like how you talked about children, but then you also went down to couples.
Well, I'm married. It's all part of
yes.
it. My mental health got to be good for the hubby. Even though I can have my crazy moment, but he know what he married.
Like you said, it's been a long time,
Yes.
long years. So he knows.
Yeah.
He knows for sure. But it's important that you just touched up on that. Even people who are single and they're dating, they're dating people or getting to know people. It's important that when you get to that stage, try to understand how people are communicating to you. Because like you said, there are people who nonverbal communication, which is something that we don't pay attention to a lot. It speaks a lot of volume.
Yeah.
And pay attention to those things. Ask the necessary question, okay? For people who are watching, ask the necessary question about mental health.
Yeah.
But these are things that, especially if you're in a dating relationship, ask those questions that you need to know. Like, how do you react to certain situation? Like emotionally, like how are you doing, or how do you react to emotional breakdown? When you're emotionally overwhelmed, how do you react? Spiritually, how do you react if you're a spiritual person? Mentally, how do you react to certain things? And ask those questions and have those necessary conversations.
Yep.
Because it's possible for you to say, I can't deal with this because this person have a lot of mental health issue, versus you already being married and now you're stuck. You feel like you're stuck. You can't easily get out. It's easier to date than to get a divorce. I tell people all the time, it's easier to date and just walk out than for you to get a divorce. So now you have to be able to navigate how to even try to fix that person. And there are lots of people in marriages, right, that their mental health is affected. They're literally married to their projects.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of their partners. They're married to their projects.
Or their prayer points.
Or their prayer points. Can we say that for the believers that will be watching, when you're praying for somebody to literally change, but you saw all the red flags at some point in time? Some people are really good at covering up, as we know, right? We've seen it. We've seen it in relationships, the people that we counsel, the people that come to us. We see that people are really good at covering up. But there's some signs that awareness is really key. And like you said, everyone, I'm sure, can agree that today is an important conversation that we can't even talk about it here within 45 minutes. So we're going to have to have it. You're going to have to come back at some point in time, because I know you're camera shy, but you're killing it. Okay?
I'm trying for you guys. I'm trying. So you make sure you watch this, because I'm trying. Yes. But I like something that you said, because if you don't really ask those questions, especially for those couples who started dating at a really young age, like myself. When I met my husband, I was 17 and he was 20. And we were so young, we didn't really talk about mental health. Like, babe, how do you express your emotion? Do you break things? Do you cry? Do you just do the silent treatment? We never talk about that. So that's something, like, now that I have this knowledge, I just want to share with people who will be watching. Like, have those conversations in the dating stage. Don't wait till, like, you guys already have buried a lot of it under, because you're going to trip over it. And like Emili said, it's $125 to get a marriage license and $799 to get a divorce. So you invest, okay? You can invest in your mental health right now in the dating stage. And you can also take accountability in the marriage stage and say, okay, what has been my role? What triggers did I send to my partner mental health? Because we're talking about mental health and relationship, right? What accountability can I take? Because we ourselves can be triggers to one another in a relationship. Like I said, whether it's being a couple, being a mom, being a friend, you always play a part. So if you can learn that those triggers at a really young age or at a beginning stage in a relationship, like for friends, you know, I asked you, Sis Emily, what are some lines? What are your boundaries? What are your limits? Like, things cannot be crossed, you know? You do the same thing in your marriage and say, okay, babe, what are some things that I shouldn't say or I can trigger? Because you don't know what kind of generational trauma that person is bringing in. You don't know what it faced. Even like, I'll be transparent with you guys. My husband, his physical touch, he want to be touching. I'm like, don't touch me. I don't do touching. You don't know what I dealt with. Some people can be molested at a younger age. Some people can even be raped. And then you, boom, joining a relationship with this person don't even know and they just want to be booed up on you. It's like, so those are conversations like I really want couples to talk about it, young generation to talk about it, family to talk about it, even talk about it with your kids. Like, how do you want to be loved? Because that also to play a part with your mental health. Because then how are you going to build that relationship or damage it before you even start? So as we're talking about relationship and mental health, I wanted to just be known that it is a priority. Yes, we can prioritize the education, go to school, get your degree, but as you're going to school, prioritize your mental health. Because if not, you will not be your best self in school. You will just be in school causing more damage. You will be sitting in a chair, but you cannot understand what the teacher is saying. You will be hearing the professor, but you cannot understand. You will be in church. Pastor are preaching. It goes in one ear, goes out because your body is there, but guess what? Your mind is somewhere else. Your mind is back home with that argument you had with your partner, or that argument you had with your children, or the conflict you had on Saturday night with your friends at the club. So it's better to prioritize your mental health so everything can align with each other, mind, body, spirit, soul, all of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I talk too much. People.
No, we're having a conversation and this is really good. And this is not because we know each other, but because the information, I think I know you.
You don't know my trainer.
Okay. I'm your coach, pretty. Okay. But because the content is important and it's something like you said, we don't talk about a lot in our community. And I can't tell you how many times, because I've worked in the school district, I can't tell you how many times I look at kids, I'm like, oh, this child could have FAS. Like, this child is ASD. Like, literally, I walk around, I'm diagnosing people's children. But a lot of parents, especially young parents, they're in denial of the fact that these things are real. Like, we know that there's certain things you can do to prevent, you know, some of these things. And sometimes it's genetic. Like, and they're still doing research as to the discovery of all these, like the ASD. There's not really a pinpoint as to what caused it, you know, what causes it for somebody to end up on the spectrum. And in line with relationship is so important. There are so many people in marriages that are not there. Like, physically they're there, but emotionally, spiritually, like they're mentally, they're checked out. They're not there. They're just there for the sake of their children. Can we just say that there are lots of people who sacrifice their mental health for the sake of their children? It's just like, what would happen, like, if we got a divorce, for instance? Like, people who are in that contemplation stage, like, what would happen if we get a divorce? What would happen at the end of the day? You think about everybody else and you forget about you. Like, how is this relationship feeding you? Like, how is this marriage feeding you? And how are your kids even being affected by it? And sometimes we don't think kids know things. And I tell my parents all the time, I say, you'd be surprised. Kids know more than you think they do. Like, because kids learn by what they see. They can tell if their parents are not hugging each other, especially if you've always done that. They're not kissing each other. Good morning, good night. They're not smiling. Like,
they will ask,
they'll ask what's going on. Are you mad at each other?
Yes, I'm mad at your dad. Now you cut my lawn. Then we'll be friends.
Exactly. So, but this is such a good conversation, Mrs. Brown, that we're going to have a part 2 because this is important for us to be
Do
having.
you want a hubby here for part 2? Then maybe you can get a different perspective.
Maybe hubby can come. Like, I wouldn't mind hubby coming on if he's okay with it. Mr. Brown?
We'll see who
Yeah.
took who mental health. Oh,
Okay, so why don't you give last few words, like next 15 seconds to
Okay.
the audience and what you want them to remember
Okay.
from this conversation.
what I will say to the viewers is prioritize your mental health before it causes you a lot of regrets, whether it's in relationship with significant others or relationship with your children, relationship with your friends, relationship at your place of employment. Prioritize your mental health. Take time away to cry, take time away to pray, go for a walk, whatever you need to do, prioritize your mental health, please. So when you get into a relationship, like I said, so you can be your whole self. So that glow that within can come out. So you are not hurting inside, you are not pretending, you are not faking anything. You can be your whole self, because when you're whole self, the energy around you, people can feel it. So that's just what I want to leave you guys with today. And thank you for having me here on the Dear Emily TV show. It's an honor and it's a privilege. So thank you again. And to all the backstage people, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pretty, for those last words. It's so important. Like I said, we're gonna have you back, and I'm sure the audience, the viewers, everyone can agree that this is such a crucial conversation that we can't have it within 50 minutes because there's so much.
Okay, how about
much.
this, right? So all the viewers, if you guys can share, let's say we get like what, 300-400 shares and we get maybe 1,000+ view, I can talk to Mr. Thomas Brown. That's my husband. So share, let him see it. He can come on the show and we can do a part 2, and then we can see how it is from a male perspective when we talk about mental health, if he will even open up about mental health, because that's something too that needs to be brought into our community with our Black men or men of color to talk about mental health in relationships, so they don't have to be macho man tough, okay to cry, okay to show, some emotions, and what are healthy ways men can express themselves in relationships. So we are not bringing boys' trauma into men relationships. We are mentioning it. So that's the challenge for you viewers. So we'll see what it is. If you want me back, share. Let's get this 3,000 view, maybe up to 10K, and Mr. Brown will be here.
Okay, I love that. We'll take on that challenge. Okay, and the viewers, I hope you're listening, because we need Mr. Brown on here, and we need his perspective, especially from a male perspective of mental health. Once again, thank you so much for joining us on the Dear Emily TV show. We're so blessed to have you, and thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for watching this episode with Mistress Brown. We talked about relationship and mental health. Please make sure you send us stars. Every star counts. And also the number on the screen, feel free to donate to us. Every dollar amount counts. We will see you next time on Dear Emily. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.